Hi, this is SkepticSage. It's about 4:17 in the morning. You're probably wondering why would I be recording a video at this hour? Well, I saw a video that so angered me that I felt the need to record a video now. First, I want to tell you that what I do for a living is that I am a psychologist, licensed in California. And the video that I'm responding to, if I look at my notes here, is Hope for the Homosexual, which is an interesting video. It is put out by some fundamentalist Christian organization, I assume. In it, it cites the research of a Mr. Robert Spitzer. And of course, these conservatives that made this video do what conservatives usually do, which is to cherry pick their data and to leave out any data that doesn't fit their arguments, and then to misrepresent the data that they give. Well, they give a number of studies that Mr. Robert Spitzer has done, and they leave out the fact that he's one of the few people that has ever done any studies that have come to the conclusions that he comes to, which is that there are forms of therapy that can help gay people to change and become straight, that the efforts of doing so are not harmful to gay and lesbian people. And throughout his video, he shows you a number of myths or facts or etc. And he gets his facts wrong almost the entire time. He claims that people who attempt to change their sexual orientation are never troubled by this or harmed by this, when in fact the research shows that in fact the majority of the people who do this are harmed by it. That's just in the research. You need to look it up. That living straight and pretending to be straight when you're really gay and living a life as a straight person, whether it's a straight man or woman, doesn't really harm people. Now, those of you out there who are not psychologists can probably use your common sense, and you can probably figure out that if you came home one day and found out that your partner was gay and had been lying to you all this time and had been pretending, this would be very traumatic. It would be traumatic to you and your children. The idea that you could go through something like that, that you would never be found out, and that you could live a life like that and that would be just fine because you're a Christian, is very naive and very dangerous for anybody that would attempt it. And if you use your common sense, you can see why that would be so. One of the things that's bad about this video is that he doesn't mention the fact not only that he's leaving out all the research, but he doesn't tell you about the research that was specifically done. The research that Robert Spitzer done was disavowed by the American Psychological Association, the very people that the psychologist Robert Spitzer has to be in good with, in the same way that if you're a lawyer, you have to be in good with the American Bar Association. Let me quote to you what the American Psychological Association said about Mr. Spitzer's research. It said, quote, "There is no published scientific evidence supporting the efficacy of reparative therapy as a treatment to change one's sexual orientation." Why would the American Psychological Association say that? Well, they said it because the research that was done was crap. Now, number one, all of the research subjects, the people that the research was done on, were all pulled from a sample from a church. They weren't just pulled randomly. They didn't just take gay people from all over the place and attempt to change their sexual orientation and see how it worked. They took people who were Christians, and then when these Christians turned around and told them, oh, by the way, we're straight now, they simply believed it. 1/3 of the people were able to change, 2/3 were not. Now think about that. These are capital C Christians, and only 1/3 of them could change. 2/3 of them gave up. What is this telling you? That even with God and all this on your side, you've only got a 1 in 3 chance? Well, guess what? They defined not being gay anymore as simply saying it. In fact, when they were pushed to define what they meant by not being gay anymore, This was their quotation, and I am quoting directly from their statements. Orientation shift is not the goal of therapy. Jesus Christ himself is the goal of therapy. That means that their definition of change is simply that someone decided to say that they had changed. And these people are going on YouTube and on the air, and they're telling young gay people who are confused that in fact they can change their sexual orientation, and that they'll be happier if they change their sexual orientation, if they pretend to be straight, that they can live wonderful lives and everything will be hunky-dory. And this is a really sad thing to tell people, because it is a lie, and it is a lie that hurts people. I do not believe that the people making these statements understand how hurtful they're being. The motivation for people to make such statements like this, I think, is rather telling in something else that was in the video. First of all, they said that only 2 to 4% of the people in the population are gay, when they know that the studies that show that are poorly designed studies, and that there are just a mountain of studies that show that it's somewhere between 7 and 12%, and so they've rounded it off to 10%. That's where they get the 10% figure. And that's been the figure for over 30 or 40 years, so they just ignore most of the evidence, and they pull 1 or 2 studies out of their ass that are bad studies. Another thing on their side is they said, is it true that what we're saying is bigotry? And they define what they're doing as not being bigotry. They claim that what they're stating, the statements that they're making, are just what they called worldview diversity. Well, if I claim that all Jewish people or all Catholics should change their religious orientation, and I think they should go to a shrink in order to do it because there's something psychologically wrong with them, because if they were right, they of course would be Protestants. Now, if I started a religious organization to do this and I called it psychotherapy, don't you think people would probably think it was anti-Semitic or anti-Catholic? They make the statement about loving the sinner but hating the sin. They said that they're not against homosexuals, they're against homosexuality. Well, all of you people out there watching this who are Jewish, if I said to you, I'm not against Jews, I'm against Judaism, how many Jewish people would listen to that and not assume that the person saying it was anti-Semitic and also full of shit? The idea that a pro-public policy, which is the word they use, a pro-public policy, that being against a pro-public policy for gay people isn't bigotry, is just a different worldview, is interesting, because if you look more into what they're saying, you realize that pro-public policy means gay people wanting equal rights under the law. When you're against the equal rights of one group of people over another, not only is that bigotry, that's the definition of bigotry. That's how bigotry is carried out. You don't carry out bigotry by shouting a racial epithet at a black person walking down the street. No, you pass laws that say that he can't live in this neighborhood, that he can't vote, that he doesn't have the same rights as everybody else. So it is bizarre that these people are against giving gay people all their rights, but that has nothing to do with them having anything against gay people. They just want all gay people to change, and they want all gay people to engage in some kind of therapy that is likely to damage them, and they're more than willing to ignore all the research and only look at one piece of research that was done at a church. Do you guys think that a church knows how to do research? Mr. Spitzer decided, because he's a Christian and a psychologist, to do some research. And he did it in his church, and he got shit on by the American Psychological Association because of it, because even though he's trained as a scientist, his religious faith got in the way. And that kind of lack of integrity really is intolerable, especially when it hurts people. And this video is going to give young people the idea that they can change their sexual orientation, that they should change their sexual orientation, and that there is something inherently wrong with them. That has got to be damaging. That would be damaging for any young person. and the person and people making this video should be ashamed of themselves. But they have their heads so far up their asses that I don't think they're capable of that. This is SkepticSage. I guess I should call myself Dr. SkepticSage. Peace.